Hi friends, this is Kerrie from Conversations at Kerrie's Korner on this TGIF Friday, first weekend of September. Fall is upon us, thank goodness. Time for change. I love the fall for that reason. It's a way to completely reshift what's going on and rededicate if that's what you need to do. Conversations at Kerrie's Korner, what is it? Well, it's a way to initiate, we hope, conversation between individuals, groups, friends, family, neighbors, cities, states, countries. See, in our society today, we have these great things called cell phones, but the cell phone, in my opinion, has drastically changed how we communicate with each other, how we don't communicate with each other anymore, how easy it is to send a message, send a text. I mean, engagements are broken up via phones or via an email. I mean, where did interactional communication go in our society? Well, it's kind of left because of the cell phone. And it's trickled into a lot of different areas of our life, this great technology. And it's created this massive divide where we just don't want to talk to each other. So Conversations at Kerrie's Korner is just a way to bring up subjects that I send to my circle of influence, and I hope once they see it, they share it with their circle of influence, and so on and so on. And when we do that, that's how we get people thinking about things and getting involved and potentially making some changes. Because when we can do it from that point and we can sit and talk to each other, well, anything is possible. Anything is possible if we're willing to do that. I try to do at least one of these a week. I try really hard to get 2 done. This is the first one for the week and it's a Friday, but it's a short week. So I still have 2 more days. Well, today and tomorrow. But today I wanted to talk to you about a subject that is one that I've experienced myself. When I do these, I try to use real experiences, because if I'm experiencing it, probably you are too, or somebody you know is. And so it's relatable. You can say, oh, yeah, I went through the same thing. Can you believe that? Okay, so how do we fix it? And that's how this process of coming together to make change really happens. Because that's when true change can happen. When you bring people together that don't necessarily agree, but they agree on a problem or an issue, and they talk about it, and you listen, they listen, and you respect each other, and lo and behold, progress is made. And changes can truly start. And it is an organic change where people are actually stepping up and saying, no, this isn't right. We need to fix this, and then work together for solutions. So today I want to talk to you about, it's a major problem. It's definitely a major problem for the older generations. And being in that senior, I can't believe I'm a senior. When did that happen? First of all, it seems like just yesterday I turned 40 and now I'm 63. What happened? Where'd 20 years go? My little boy that was playing football is now engaged, soon to be married, and a sheriff's deputy. When did all that happen? That's just one of them. I don't know where 20 years went. But I'm in that senior group, and it is something that I can tell you firsthand, my husband and I are struggling with, and I know if I'm struggling, there's a lot of people out there that are struggling too, because I actually have experience in my life that helps me understand all of this as a licensed insurance agent. And I'm talking about the medical establishment, the process of getting help, seeking out medical attention, seeking out treatment, tests, results, appointments, consultations, physicals, whatever you want to say, or all of it. And I do want to preface before we get into this by saying there truly are really hardworking individuals in the medical industry. I believe that. I see it. I personally interact with very hardworking individuals who are frustrated by how our medical system is now working. I see doctors that do care, but boy, I see a lot that don't. And I see a lot of people in the medical industry that shouldn't be in the medical industry because they have no clue how to interact with individuals, especially individuals who aren't feeling well, or especially seniors who are not up to par with the technology of where the medical industry is going. So I'm going to use a real life example of my husband. And I have permission. I'm not going to give specifics. I'm just going to speak in generalities here. We've been struggling for 3 years to get a definitive answer from 5 doctors. 5. And we're not getting answers. We're not getting any resolution. He's not getting what he needs. And so we go through this over and over and over and over again. Where, first of all, we try to get in to see a specialist. Well, first you get in to see your primary care, and that takes 4 months. Because, my God, you can't just pick up the phone like you used to and say, oh, do you have any openings this week or next? It's now, do you have any openings in 2 to 3 months? And by God, you can't talk to anybody. It's just an automated clearinghouse for the doctor's offices. You're not even talking to the doctor anymore. You're actually talking to a third-party system that looks at the calendar and says, oh, no, we can't fit you there, and what are you coming in for? And, oh, by the way, you can't ask any other questions outside your physical. If you're coming in for a physical, you can't talk about anything else. What? That's the first big what. So you're lucky enough to get into your doctor. Get into your doctor and you tell your doctor what's going on, and then you go see somebody, or you go see a specialist. 5 specialists in 3 years with marginal relief, marginal help, horrible patient relations, constant redoing and overdoing and rescheduling and doing test after test after test after test. No follow-up from doctors. And we're no better 3 years later. How is this okay in the greatest country in the world? First question. How is that okay? It's not okay. It's bloody awful, is what it is. Then you have the financial aspect of it. I mean, you go in for a doctor's appointment, and if it's not covered, then you got to lay out money for that, and you got to pay your insurance premiums, you got to pay your deductibles, you got to pay your out-of-pocket expenses. So all we're doing is paying. And then we get messages that say, oh, you need to do this, this, and this, and you need to do it through the patient portal. Well, we don't want to do it through the patient portal. Why do we have to do their job? Why do we have to get in to see somebody, do their job? What do they pay their staff for anymore? Because you can never get anybody on the phone. You got to leave 3, 4, 5 messages before you get a return phone call from anybody ever. So why are we doing their job? Why are we made to put up with the fact that these doctors are saying, okay, well, now you have to use a portal, and every communication that we're going to have is through that portal? No, I'm not accepting that. I'm not accepting that for the money I have to put out for my insurance premiums, my out-of-pocket, my co-pays, my deductibles, and everything else, for a doctor's office to say to me, well, we're going to communicate with you through a portal. By damned, you're not. You're going to communicate with me on the phone. I'm not using a portal. If I got a question, I want to talk to you. And you know how hard that is? That's like pulling teeth anymore. If you can even get anybody to have a conversation with you about it. I walked into a doctor's office recently, and this lady came in, and she was very stressed, very nervous, very upset. She was 10 minutes late for her appointment because she got stuck in a car accident. Not her herself, but in the accident traffic. And the woman at the desk actually said, well, you only have 5 minutes to complete 6 or 7 pages of documents. She can't see well enough to use an app. So she had to do it in the doctor's office, which you should not be penalized for that. And they are. The woman actually said, you have 5 minutes to complete all these forms. If you can't do it in the 5 minutes, then you'll have to come back after you finish with the doctor and fill out all the forms. And if you don't get all of that done and we can't submit it, then you're going to have to pay for your entire appointment. Because she didn't fill out forms in time? Are you kidding me? And then they said, oh, by the way, you can't be more than 10 minutes late. If you're more than 10 minutes late, we legally can cancel your appointment. How many times have you walked into a doctor's office and you've waited before you even are called to the desk? You get called to the desk, you do all whatever you got to do, pay your money, you go sit back down again, and then more time passes. And your appointment time is now past. And you wait, and you wait, and you wait. You finally get back to the room, and you wait some more. So your 2 o'clock appointment is now 2:45, and you haven't seen the doctor yet. Doctor comes in, bing, bang, bong, 5 minutes later, they're out the door. You don't get to ask any questions, nothing. So your 2 o'clock appointment is now over at 2:50. So you have wasted 45 minutes of your time. So why is it not okay for us to bill the doctor because the doctor was late? Your time is just as valuable as their time, in my opinion. So I tell my doctors, you late? I'm going to be back charging you. Because my time, by damned, is just as important as their time. And if they can't properly manage their time throughout the day, they should stop booking so many appointments. It's that simple. That's what we do out in the real world outside the medical industry. You have X amount of time. You fill that time. Once you're done with that time, you go home. That's how it works. Oh, but the medical industry thinks that they're special, you see, and that they can charge people because things happen in the world that are out of their control. Unbelievable. That's just a fraction of what's going on. I want to talk about the people in the medical industry that have no business working in the medical industry. And I'm going to be very specific here. And I hope anybody that works in this organization sees this and uses it and contacts me, because I have left 3 messages and no one has actually spoken to me yet. So my husband and I go see a specialist 3.5 weeks ago. We have an appointment set yesterday for a Tuesday for 2 diagnostic tests. And we're told, oh, call this number to set it up. So the doctor's office doesn't even do that anymore. It's now your responsibility to set this up. So we set it up the very day that we got the information. 3.5 weeks we have to wait. We waited. And we're told, oh, by the way, when I made the appointment, somebody's going to be calling you to confirm the exact time and any other information that they're going to need. And I said, well, when will that happen? Oh, the week of. These appointments were on a Wednesday. Nothing Monday. Nothing until after 5 p.m. on a Tuesday. Now, my husband and I don't pick up personal phone calls during the day because we work, right? That's the way it's supposed to be. In case the younger generations are watching this, you're not supposed to take personal calls during your professional work hours. That's just kind of the way it's always been. Just because you have a cell phone now doesn't mean that you should be picking up personal phone calls during your work hours, because then you're giving your time away free to the employer. And as a business owner, I won't tolerate it. 5:15, we got a message the day before we are scheduled to go for these tests, and they leave a message. Husband calls back immediately as soon as he sees it. And guess what? They've all gone for the day. Now, we're supposed to be there the next day. We're supposed to be there at 11 o'clock. for the first test. Calls at 8 o'clock. Lady says, yes, confirms everything. And you know, you have to reconfirm everything 4 and 5 times. Yes, this is my name. Yes, this is my date of birth. Yes, this is my address. Yes, this is whatever. And I get it for privacy and protection, but oh my God, it's so redundant. Does anybody read anymore? Do they look at what they're looking at? I mean, why is it up to us all the time? So she confirms it all, and then she says, oh, by the way, here is your percentage that you're going to have to pay tomorrow. Now, this is 5:15, the day before that we get this message. 8 o'clock the next morning, we're talking to somebody on the phone, and we have an appointment 3 hours later, and we're told 2.5 hours later when we're on the phone with the admissions office, this is what they expect us to walk in today and pay them for. No warning, no ability to arrange payments, nothing. Now, some people can't do that. A lot of people can't do that. Just plop hundreds of dollars down with a 2-hour notice. How does the medical industry think they have the right to do that? I mean, really, they certainly wouldn't be able to do that and schedule their procedures with a 2-hour notice. So why is it okay for them to do it to us? It's not. It's not okay. So my husband said, well, I can't give you all of that sum. And the lady says, well, it's okay. Come on in. Let's just come in and have the test done. Well, you know, like normal, things will be arranged. So we go in, and I have to tell you, never in my life have I witnessed a woman that works for Methodist Hospital Willowbrook in the registration department that was as rude, condescending, arrogant, just absolutely the rudest woman, no compassion whatsoever. Now, my husband is not well. Obviously, we're here for tests, right? I mean, they know this. And she has zero personal skills, no communication skills whatsoever. She's rude, she's crude, she's unhelpful, she won't listen. She basically accuses my husband when he tells her what's gone on, and she just flippantly couldn't give a shit less. That's the kind of people that is working in the medical industry with sick patients. And by damn, that's not okay. It's just not okay. If you're not trained to work in the public arena, and I have all my entire 43-year career, you shouldn't be in it. If you don't know how to communicate with the public with compassion, honesty, listening, respect, then you shouldn't be in the medical. Of all fields, you should not be working in the medical industry. That is the last place you should be working. You should be working in a call center where you don't see any other human being. You put on a headset, you connect to a phone, and you just talk all day. Because you don't have to have any interpersonal communication skills whatsoever, nor did this woman. Now, I have called the hospital 3 times to file a complaint. Have not spoken to one person yet. If it was any other industry, I would have heard from somebody, because it would mean that they would be potentially losing a client. But you see, they don't care, because patients are just a number. It's all about the numbers. I can tell you this because I'm a trained and licensed insurance agent. I work for insurance companies all day. It is a numbers racket. It's a numbers game. They don't care. They don't have to care. So they hire these kinds of barbaric, untrained, I'm not going to use the word that I want to use, but you get the drift. So how do we fix all of this? Because it's not getting any better. So we go through this, and it's an all-day process. All day. You can't leave and go and decompress in between because there's not enough time for you to go and come back. So you have to sit there for 7.5 hours. You don't feel well. You're in horrible pain, and nobody gives a shit. And you're in a hospital, of all places. Our medical industry is in the toilet. And there's not enough professionals that care to fix it. They just couldn't be bothered, in my opinion. So is the alternative socialized medicine? No, because unless you're willing to go wherever the government tells you, whenever the government tells you, and if they approve whatever you need to have done, then there's no other choice. But it's not okay. And the segment of the population, the biggest segment of the current population, are seniors. And the seniors are the ones that are treated the worst. Because a lot of seniors don't want technology. They want a face-to-face. And it's not there anymore. So you compound that with whatever they're dealing with, and the frustration and the stress and the anxiety, it just builds and builds and builds until the patient finally just gives up. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the older generations just flat give up because they can't and don't have enough stamina to put up with this mechanism, this powerful machine of technology. And in this industry, they don't care because it's all about the numbers. How many sheep can we put through the stall, fix them, shear them, and then send them on their way, or eliminate them if possible? And I do believe that too. There are people in our medical industry that are making decisions about lives that have no business making decision about lives. I witnessed it. I saw it with my own mother. Humanity has left the industry. The medical industry, the majority of it, and when I say the majority, 90% of it, couldn't give a rat's ass whether or not you get well. Because it's not about that anymore. It's about the almighty dollar and the numbers. Caring for individuals has gone. The oath that they take to do no harm, that went out the window. Because they do harm by the way they treat, especially the older generations. I don't know what the solution is, but I can tell you from my own personal experience, I'm going to continue screaming. I'm going to continue filing complaints. I'm going to continue to make sure that the people that don't treat me or my husband correctly, they're going to know that they're not treating me correctly because I won't tolerate it. I'm in the public arena every day dealing with clients. I know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, and I'm not going to settle. And I urge you not to settle. If we don't start making people accountable in our society, whatever it is that they are involved in, whether it's politics, the president, your doctor, your dentist, your employees, your kids, your family, if we don't start making our society accountable again, we're not going to have one. And all of these beautiful young children won't have what you and I had or have unless we do something about it, because that's the only way. I hope you take this video and share it, because I know I'm not the only one. I know my husband and I are not the only one to be so incredibly disgusted and frustrated and annoyed that we have to do the medical industry's job for them. My husband has a saying that it's medical, they're practicing medicine, right? Yeah, they're practicing on us, and we're guinea pigs, and it's not okay. They need to do their job, take the oath that they took, and be serious about it, and do no harm. Because if they're doing harm in my situation, I'm going to be screaming at the top of my lungs, because I'm done. I'm done. And I don't get there very often, but I am done. I'm done with the incompetence and the fact that they just don't care. This industry, of all industries, has to care. So I hope you share this with your circle of influence, and we all can come up with solutions. I love your feedback. That's how we're going to fix these problems, is if we all start talking to each other about it, getting on social media, making our voices heard. That's how this great nation started, and we've seemed to have forgotten that somewhere along the line, where our voices now are even more powerful because of cell phones, because of social media. We, the people, have to make accountability, put accountability back in our society, because it got washed away in the last 20, 25 years. We got to put it back, because it's the only way that our society is going to continue to thrive, in my opinion. I'd love to hear back from you. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Everyone's welcome here. I want to hear back from people. I want to create the dialogue. So just maybe we can change these problems. We can make it even a greater place to live again. The America that I grew up in, not the one I'm currently living in. Many blessings to you wherever you are on this Friday. Conversations at Kerrie's Corner. I want to leave you with a picture, because it's how I sort of was inspired to make this podcast series. As a young girl, I spent a lot of time traveling around this great country. My dad traveled a lot. And so my brothers and I and our mother would follow him on the weekends. We would go, he's a retired pro golfer, so we would go follow him to the golf tournaments on the weekends. And we traveled a lot by car, and we would see these amazing, beautiful small towns in the South, and they had these unbelievably beautiful diners. You could go in and they'd be green or red or whatever, and there'd be all this chrome. Some of them even had people on roller skates. And inevitably, we'd sit down at this really long bar and have our meal, coffee or Coke or ice cream, whatever. And inevitably, my mom and dad, if they were both together, would end up making these great conversations with people. They'd have these in-depth conversations with people they'd never met in their life. And some of those conversations actually ended to, started a lifelong friendship. So coming back to that spot where we sit down and talk to each other and listen to each other and respect each other, you never know what that other person's going to say that could potentially influence your own thoughts and your own feelings. Could change your position, right? Could improve your position. And maybe you can do the same for them. Let's come back to the table and start talking to each other again. Because that's really where we can make significant changes in all of the areas that we are struggling in. So pass it on if you would. Subscribe too, don't forget. Send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. If you have ideas, I'd love to hear from you about that too. I'm all over social media. You can't miss me. Conversations at Kerrie's Corner. And we will see you the next time. Have a great Friday. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. And it is fall. Can't wait for the really cool weather to show up here in Texas. Have a blessed weekend, everyone. Talk to you soon.